Hello, welcome back to my channel. This is not lemonade. Today I'm going to do the first in a series of short videos entitled Lessons in Autism Parenting. These are things that I've learned as I've gone along. Maybe it will help somebody out there struggling with some of the things I was struggling with. I know I'm still learning, and as I learn new lessons, I will talk about those as well. I've decided to make the first video on one of the biggest lessons that I've learned in autism parenting. And one of the things that bothered me the most at the beginning of this journey, and that is milestones and what to do when your child misses milestones and how to deal with that. As soon as your child enters this world, they are compared. They are compared in chart after chart, and then as soon as you take them home, you are bombarded with email after email about what your child should be doing at 3 weeks old, 6 weeks old, 6 months old. I get why these charts are used. It's to identify children like my son who were struggling. And to an extent, that's good. It captured him early on. There was a yardstick for what he should and shouldn't be doing. It did enable him to get help and support very early on. It enabled us to get referred early on because it was quite obvious that compared to his neurotypical peers, he wasn't doing the same things. So while they do have their uses, I feel like we have gone a step too far with this. And as a parent, these kind of comparisons aren't particularly good for your mental health or well-being. So let me tell you a bit about my situation. I have a 3-year-old son. He was diagnosed with autism 6 months ago when he just turned 3. We started noticing differences in the way he was developing from about 12 months old. So up until then, more or less, he'd been doing the kind of things that these emails were telling me he should be doing. We got to 12 months and we realised, he wasn't doing a lot of these things, and every month it got harder to read. Every month it felt like we were accruing more and more things that Dexter couldn't do. We live in an era of baby Olympics. Who can achieve the milestones the quickest? Everyone posts on social media about what their children's doing. My daughter potty trained at 6 months old. My son walked at 3 days old. That puts enough pressure on parents in general. But when you have a child who is autistic or has some kind of developmental delay, those things become painful to read. Playdates become hard, toddler groups become impossible. I had to psych myself up to get to Dexter's musical play group every week. They would get the musical instruments out and all the children would be there banging on drums and shaking tambourines. And what was my son doing? Spinning the maraca on the floor over and over again. And I used to go, "Come on, Dexter, shake it, shake it." And he just was doing his own thing. He was living his best life, doing his own thing, and he didn't care what anybody else was doing. But I did, because that's what I was conditioned to do, to look around and compare him to the other children in the room. And I was convinced that all the other parents were doing the same, looking at my child and thinking, he's a bit weird. FYI, nobody was thinking that, because everyone's eyes are on their own child. So how do you deal with this? Because there's no denying it is difficult. It is a tough thing that parents have to deal with. Life gets so much easier when you throw out the developmental milestone chart. My son in many areas is so far behind where he should be. But you know what? There's so many areas that he is ahead of where he should be. His visual skills are unreal. He knew the alphabet numbers before he was 2. His memory is insane. He can do 50-piece jigsaw puzzles and just figure stuff out just by looking at it and figuring out how it works. His peers can't do that. But do you compare his peers and say, well, compared to Dexter, they're not doing half of this stuff? No, because that's not what's expected. Because expectations and milestones are based on the majority. Because my son is in the minority, people tend to look at what he can't do instead of what he can do. You do have to look at what children can't do. Can't do yet, by the way. But you do have to look at where their difficulties lie. But here's the thing. It's very important to recognize every individual's strengths, and everybody has them. It doesn't matter if you can't identify them in your child yet, they have strengths that you don't know about. But only in identifying an individual's strengths can you use them to work on their difficulties. You can't be in denial about it. Your child is not doing a lot of the things that their peers are doing. But you shouldn't feel bad about that. It isn't a reflection on your parenting. Your child is atypical, but atypical is not bad. It's not bad. Exceptional brains aren't measured in typical ways. And in the grand scheme of your child's life, however they progress, it won't matter when they're 25 years old, whether they could thread 17 beads at 2 or recite Shakespeare stood on their head at 3, or whatever ridiculous expectations are placed on our children in their early years. If your child is autistic, developmental profiles of children with autism are very spiky. They are up and down, they are all over the place. They have strengths in this area and then difficulties in this area, and they gain this skill and they'll lose this skill. You can't predict what's going to happen. Remember as well that you might not fully appreciate what your child is capable of because of the communication and social motivation barrier. So if your child could have insane skills but not have the motivation to demonstrate those to you or the people around them, or the communication skills to be able to show you what they know. This was definitely the case with my son. When he was very young, he never pointed to anything. I would point out different things. There's the tree, there's the table, there's the pig, and nothing. But I kept going because I had to. What else could I do? One day, I opened a book. Dexter, where's the train? Where's the ice cream? And it was like bang, 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 bang. He just pointed to them. It had been going in. But he had not, up until that point, had the communication skills to demonstrate to me what it was he knew. I fully believe that that is the case with other areas in his life now. I do think there are many, many things he can understand that he can't communicate that he understands. The advice I would give to the parent of a child who is missing milestones would be to throw out the milestone chart. Unsubscribe from those emails. Don't let somebody else tell you what your child should be doing when the only thing your child should be is happy. That's it. And if you are doing everything in your power to make your child happy, you are a phenomenal parent and your child will have a great life. I used to picture myself on a desert island. Do this now. Picture yourself on a desert island. It's just you and your children and your friends who live on this desert island with you all have children who are developing exactly the same way as your child. How sad do you feel about your child's development? How sad do you feel that they're not doing certain things? Because if you're anything like me, I'll bet you're not feeling that sad about it anymore. So think of it that way, and find your desert island tribe, because there are plenty of parents out there who are going through what you're going through and have children who are missing these milestones. Connecting with those parents really, really helped me, and maybe they will help you. I've said this before, I do plan on starting a community for parents who are worried about autism in their children, because it is a really difficult time and a hard place to be, and connecting with each other helps so much. So that is in the pipeline. Stick with me, it's going to happen. I also understand that a key fear is, well, if my child's not doing this now, if my child is so far behind their typical peers now, what does that mean for their future? Are they never going to achieve these things? How likely is it that they are ever going to gain these skills? The thing is, because autism and other developmental conditions like autism are so unpredictable, you can't guess where they're going to be in the future based on where they are now. You just can't. It is too unpredictable that nobody can tell you. All I will say is almost every single autism parent I've spoken to who has an older child with autism was blown away by their development over the years. Remember that everyone's future is unwritten, autism or not. No one knows what the future holds. Please throw the milestone charts away. They are useless. Your child, your life, your family, your happiness. I have done rambling for the time being, so I will leave it at that. If you're interested in following our family's journey and finding out more about my son, please subscribe, give this video a like if it was helpful, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.